Jagrative, Jai Masters. And the funny part about the spiritual path is that the most basic teachings are the only ones you need. There's all this noise, all these techniques, all this stuff, and we're very busy doing it, and we think we're supposed to do it, and we feel guilty when we don't, and we don't think we're doing enough, and we start blaming or relating to things that are happening to us based upon what we're doing, what we're not doing. It all gets so confusing, gets so complicated, when really it's very, very simple. There are things in the universe. There's a piano stand, there's a chair, there's a blanket, there's a water bottle. There are just things. I'll tell you another thing that exists in the universe, a thing called mind. It's not any different than a blanket. It's not any different than a chair. It's not any different than a computer. It's not any different than the sky and the stars. It's just a thing that exists in the universe. It's called mind. It is no more you than a piano stand, than a star, than a blanket. It's something you are aware of. That is the essence of spirituality. And before we get too far, there's another thing in the universe, and you won't like this. It's called a heart, a center of emotion. It's just a thing in the universe, just like a blanket, just like a window, just like shoes. It's something that you are aware of. You are aware that there's a thing in the universe that emits emotions. Have you noticed? It's just a thing in the universe. It has absolutely nothing to do with you, any more than shoes or cars or clouds. It's something that you're aware of. Trouble is, you're much too aware of it, aren't you? Well, let's be more specific. You have the ability to not be aware of shoes. Just don't look at them. You have the ability to not be aware of a blanket. Just don't look at it. Do you have the ability to not be aware of the emotions emoting from your heart? In most cases, no. Why? It's just like anything else. It's just something that's there. It's just something that's happening. It's just a thing that's making emotions. Let's focus on mind. What is mind? It's a thing in the universe that creates thoughts. They talk or they visualize. Those are the two ways that you see that there are thoughts. They talk to you, don't they? They tell you all kinds of stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. Man, do they talk, don't they? All right? And sometimes you visualize thoughts. You can see a boat. You can see a car. You can see stars in your mind, can't you? They can create visualizations, and they talk. That's what thoughts do. Those are two types of thoughts. You know you have the ability to visualize, and you know that when you're not trying to visualize, it still does. You see things that are scary. You see things that are nice, right or wrong. They just pop in your mind. Pop into your mind. Notice the possessive pronoun. Pop into your mind. Your shoes, your car, your blanket, your mind. Whose? That is the essence of spirituality. Your words that you use to describe these things are perfectly right. You're just not paying attention. I'm having a bad mind day. It's like a bad hair day. How do you know you're having a bad mind day? Because I'm in here. How do you know there are emotions? Because I'm in here. How do you know there are nice thoughts? I'm in here. How do you know there are not nice thoughts? I'm in here. How do you know there's X-rated thoughts? How do you know that there's PG thoughts? Because I'm in here. I notice it, don't I? If you weren't in there, they'd be like the blanket. They're just there and nobody sees them. But you are in there, and you are aware of these things. The day that you see it like that is the day you're liberated. What's going to happen when you see thoughts as just anything else in the universe, they're not your thoughts, they're thoughts. Everyone's got them. They're not even a dime a dozen. They're a penny a million. They just get created. They're just there. We can talk about why and why. It's fully understandable. Every thought you have is understandable why you're having it, why the mind is having that thought. There's no mystery at all to any of it. The problem is not why are the thoughts what they are. The problem is you can't watch them without identifying with them. You think you are your thoughts. Notice, you think you are your thoughts. Your thoughts say, this is me. I'm not happy. I'm depressed. No. You're watching an emotion that is low. That's what it means when you say, I'm depressed. You are not depressed. You're watching a depressed psyche. You get one phone call from someone who broke up with you that you love and you just don't know how to handle it, and that's why you're depressed. And that phone call says, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was so wrong. I love you more than anything in the whole world. Can I come over? You're not depressed anymore. Are you? How long does it take? Bam! You were staring at a thought and an emotion and the thoughts were saying, oh my God, I'll never be happy again. I loved him so much. I don't know what did I do wrong. I wish I hadn't said what I said. He didn't do that. Anyone do that? Come on. No, he doesn't do that. Okay. And at the same time, it's saying that, the heart's going, everything's dark and it'll always be dark. And you get that one phone call. Says, oh my God, she's coming over. I better take a shower. I'm taking a shower for 2 weeks. I better get out of bed. I better clean up the pizza crust all over the place. How long does it take? What is that telling you? You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are much too close to staring at your thoughts and emotions. If you stare at something, there's 2 words that I've been teaching you, all right, that I see just how deep they are when you want to understand your situation in the psyche. Distraction and identification. You are distracted by your thoughts, you are distracted by your emotions, and you're so distracted that you identify with them. If you stare at something long enough, I was thinking about, isn't there a word called imprinting? You know, that a duck can imprint on a cow and act like a cow. I've heard about that. It's a psychological thing. That when it's born, if it never sees its mother or father and it sees a cow, it acts like a cow. I think it's called imprinting, isn't it? Okay, very good. That's what you've done. You, consciousness, has stared at mind and emotions long enough, hard enough, unbroken, consistently, that you have imprinted your consciousness onto what you're looking at. And you say, I am my mind. And you say, I am my emotions. Instead of saying, I am aware of my emotions, I am aware of my mind, you say, I am my mind, I am my emotions. I like this, I don't like this, I believe in this, I don't believe in this. You're just staring at a thought. Consciousness doesn't know about like or dislike. It's just aware. Like, what color does consciousness like? It couldn't care less. It just sees colors. Well, what if you see certain colors and your emotions change? Then it sees colors and it sees your emotions change. It sees colors and it sees your thoughts say, oh no, I hate that color. That was the color I wore when I broke my arm and I don't want to wear that color ever again. See? Thoughts just pop up. The consciousness sees what's going on. The trouble is it stares at it so long and so hard and pays so much attention to it that it has identified with it. You think you're a human being. You are not. You are not a human being. I'm sorry what they tell you. They have lied to you. You are looking at a human being. You are looking at a human being's thoughts, you're looking at a human being's emotions, and you're receiving the messages from a human body. That's not who you are. You are the consciousness that is experiencing these things. The trouble is they pull you in. They pull you in extremely strong. It's so nice to talk like this, as though you're detached. When a great saint came here once, the first time I met him, and he said to me, his guru told him that the highest spiritual state beyond love is detachment. Why? When you're detached, there's nothing but love. When there's love, you get attached. What does detachment mean? It doesn't mean cold. It means you're not identified with what you're not. It's called reality. You are not your car. I'm sorry if it got scratched. You're not your car. I'm sorry if somebody sat on it. I'm sorry if somebody said they didn't like it. You're not your car. It's just the thing that you're aware of, but you identified with it, didn't you? It's a part of me. It is not a part of you. You didn't make it. You don't know how to make it. It has absolutely nothing to do with you, right? I told you the story. You want to see identification? You walk into a car showroom. Lots of people there, walking around, everyone looking at everything. People sitting in different cars, sitting on different cars, talking about different cars. You go in there, and you see a particular car that you like, and you go in there with stuff called paper, or maybe not paper, now a card. No, not even a card, an electronic beam, all right? And you walk into the salesperson and say, I want that one. And you go, beam, all of a sudden, get off my car. Get out of my car. That's my car. What happened in that one beam of a little Google Pay or something? What in the world? All of a sudden it's mine? Did you make it? Do you know how to make it? Do you know where it was made? Do you know who made it? Do you know a single thing about that car that you didn't know a second ago? No, it's mine. Wow. And you're serious about it. You hear me? And then all of a sudden the salesperson, no. It's not that one. It's that one. Oh, okay. Get out of my car. Do you see the power of identification? The ego projects itself onto things that it's not. Just let's take a moment and say, why does it do that? Why does it do that? Because when the consciousness, the soul, the essence, the Atman, call it whatever you want, you, consciousness, awareness of being, are you in there? That's the one I'm talking to. Okay? So you're in there, and basically it happens when your birth takes place. The consciousness drops down into this body. Don't ask me at what point it does. That's a big argument nowadays. I don't want to talk about it. All I know is the consciousness, at some point, is in this thing that got made out of nothing. Like, it's just like your car. You don't know a thing about your car, but it's mine. That's not your baby. Make me an eyeball. I'll give you $7 billion and 15 years to do it. Make me an eyeball. No one has ever made an eyeball. Do you understand that? Well, that's not true. Something made a lot of eyeballs, didn't it? Ever think about it? How did that happen in there? Where did the body come from? It's not yours. Do you know the science? Two little cells, microscopic cells, come together. They're just nothing. It's just nothing. It's just sitting there. There it is, a fertilized cell. They're sitting there. Okay, big deal. I don't see a body. Who made the body? Who made that little cell into livers and kidneys and pineal glands and eyeballs and blood and kidneys? And who did that? Did you do that? No. It has this stuff called DNA, and it's just a molecule. It's made out of atoms. It's made out of the periodic table. But somehow it knows to divide itself and split. And it knows, this is the part that's unbelievable, it knows chemistry more than any chemist will ever know. It knows how to take carrots, peas, Twinkies, Coca-Cola, and break it down to its molecular... Who's doing that? Break it down to its molecular structure and then rebuild it into eyeballs and kidneys and livers, and it just keeps doing that. And it just makes a baby. What's that got to do with you? How about nothing? You're just a conscious being that watches the tummy go, "Arr," and then, ah! That's what's going on. And in the meantime, consciousness drops into that body. And so now it's not just atoms and molecular structures that get made. It has awareness. Okay, we were talking about why we identify with things. So that's a rather shocking thing when you drop down into that body. Yoga Nara talked about that. They said when the soul drops into the body, it's lost. It's like amnesia. I can't relate to anything. It doesn't know where it is or how it got there. It doesn't know a single thing. It's just, ah. That's why they cry when you get them out. So it has amnesia. It's lost. So what does it do? It does what you naturally do. It starts to cling. It starts to imprint. It starts to cling to things. It doesn't know who it is, but it sees mommy. It sees crib. You know what it sees? Blankie. I always talked about blanket. That's not the same thing that I was talking about that a kid. Blankie's a serious thing, and don't take it away too soon, right? Freud will tell you the kid will be messed up for the rest of their life. Why? It identified with whatever it was dealing with because it didn't identify with itself. It doesn't know itself. Well, let's put it this way. It does know itself, but it got lost. It fell from its knowledge of being because it's getting all these senses from the body and all these lights are coming in. It's all very distracting, isn't it? So it needs to get some solid ground. And so it reaches out and builds its solid ground out of the things it sees. And you know that. It's lost when it drops down, unless it's a very evolved soul. I can talk about that in a minute. But basically, it comes down, and it wants to know who it is. It needs to have an identity. We call it a self-concept. Psychology calls it self-concept. This is my blanket. This is my mommy. This is my crib, right? All of a sudden, it's reaching out into the world and identifying with what it sees and saying, that's me. Well, I'm the one who played Dorothy in Wizard of Oz in the 5th grade. That's who I am. No, I don't think so. It's an experience you had that you held on to and defined yourself as it. And that's where the ego comes from. That's why it's there, and that's why it's really, really strong. Because behind it is panic. Behind it is the panic that you experienced when you dropped in and got lost. Behind it is the panic of amnesia, total amnesia. You got knocked out, you don't know who you are, you don't know where you came from, even a grown-up. You don't remember anything, you have no family, you have nothing. It's just scary. It doesn't get more scary than that. I have no idea who I am, nothing to hold on to. So that's what's going on in there, is that the consciousness, the awareness of being, has dropped into an arena that it doesn't relate to. So it starts to relate to it. It starts to build. It builds a false concept of self. Who says it's false? Every concept is false. It's a concept. It's not reality. Reality is not a concept. A concept is something you make up in your mind. And they call it a self-concept, don't they? And psychology says you have to have a very strong self-concept. Okay, but sometimes during this self-concept building thing, not all nice things happen. You go to school and you get rejected. Some bully messes around with you. You had an accident, and so you don't look so good temporarily. Well, that all gets in there, doesn't it? So all of a sudden, I'm ugly. All of a sudden, nobody likes me. All of a sudden, I'll never have a decent relationship. All kinds of things happen to us, don't they? And you identify with them. You do the same thing as Blanky. You hold on to it, and you say, this is me. I'm the one who failed here. I'm the one that people laughed at. I'm the one that somebody said they loved me, and then they hurt me. And that's what you're walking around saying, this is who I am. It is not who you are. Those are thoughts. Those are emotions that got built in your psyche. You're not your psyche, but you are aware of what your psyche is doing. And I've just told you why your psyche is doing what it's doing. I told you a minute ago, every single thought you have, every single emotion you have is not irrational. There's a reason it's coming up into your mind. There's a reason it's coming out of your heart. What is the reason? You stored stuff in there. Psychology says man is the sum of his learned experiences. It's not true that man or woman is the sum of the learned experiences. You are the consciousness that is aware that what you're looking at is the sum of your learned experiences. I guarantee you what you're looking at in there, your thoughts and your emotions are the sum of your learned experiences. And that's why yours are different than his, and why yours are different than they were yesterday or a year ago or 5 years ago. Like we said, you can have one experience and one phone call. All of a sudden it's different in there. You're having experiences all the time, aren't you? And they are molding your self-concept. And therefore, what you hold inside of you comes back up. Why? Now it becomes spirituality. I don't know what psychology says. I can guarantee you there's no reason there's anything in there from your past. You have a memory, you're welcome to bring it back. That's what I'm talking about. The stuff you stored in there because you couldn't handle it. no, I can't handle this, it didn't happen. That's denial. That's real psychological problem, right? Or resistance, or suppression, or repression. Come on, Freud. Well, I want to ask Sigmund. I like Sigmund. Yes, there's suppression. Who is doing the suppressing? Do you suppress things? Do you push things away when they're not comfortable? Do you have hands in there that can push away thoughts, push away emotions? He didn't talk about who's doing it. He's brilliant. It's neat that he saw it was happening. Freud's real studies were of mental patients. That's what he was founding psychology. Why are people so doing this and doing that? He studied them from outside. And then he formulated, oh, I see, your mommy did this, your daddy did this happened, that happened, et cetera, et cetera. That's why you're behaving the way you're behaving. He's right. You stored things, especially powerfully negative things or positively positive things. You don't let them go. I said you have hands in there. You know you do. They're going on all the time, aren't they? I don't like that. No, I don't have to deal with this. Or rationalization. He didn't really mean that. He couldn't have meant that. It's like, whoa, you know, all kinds of stuff going on in there, and you manipulate it. You do what you can to make it a little bit nicer in there. You think it's making it nicer to push it away. I don't know. I don't know why she looked at me that way. I don't know what it meant. I don't want to think about it. But guess what? You just stored it if you don't want to think about it. If it bothered you and you pushed it away with those hands, it got stored in there. And guess what? It's coming back. Why? Now you get to yoga. I don't know what, there's so many different fields of psychology, and so I can't speak for everybody, for all of them. But one thing a yogi knows, there's nothing inside of you, inside the psyche, either heart or mind, nothing that holds things in there. You have an experience, it comes in, you experience it, it emotes, and it passes through the universe. Can you bring it back? Sure, you got memory, just like a computer has memory. But guess what? A computer does not throw its memory up anytime it doesn't like something. Okay? You do. You store it with all the emotions, with all the power, with all the energy that you didn't like when you were experiencing it. And so you push it down there. Well, energy can't sit down there. Energy has to move. Energy is an active thing. In yoga, we call that samskara. That which you push down, this thousands of years ago, way before Freud, that which you pushed down there, you held it in there with an act of will. There's no cement, there's no flypaper, there's no super glue, there is nothing inside of there. It's more etheric than air. Things pass right through it. But you have the power to resist it. You have the power of will. And if you use your will, which is the power of the self, it's the power of your soul, it's the power of consciousness. People ask, what is will? Yogis know this because they meditate deep enough and they watch and they see. What is will? There's a power in there, isn't it? You can make things happen. When consciousness, which is a very great thing, consciousness, awareness, when it focuses, concentrates, that power of concentration is will. That's what will is. The power of consciousness focusing on something. Just like if you take a magnifying glass, the sun is everywhere. Take a magnifying glass. It can burn something. It focused so much that it became a power, didn't it? That's what's happening with will. So your power of will is from God. We'll get to what consciousness is a little bit later. But consciousness is you. Consciousness is a very great thing. When it says man is created in the image of God, it's talking about consciousness. Your awareness of being is the essence of your being. If it focuses, when consciousness focuses, it creates power, tremendous power. And that's what will is. So wherever you focus your consciousness, you have the power of will. If you focus it on thoughts that you don't like, with resistance, focus it. It's a silly thing to do. If you don't like something, let it go. Why do you want to store what you don't like? Go to a restaurant, eat food that makes you sick. Ask for a doggy bag. Take it home and eat it every single day, a little bit, to remember how sick it made you so you don't ever do it again. That would be very silly, wouldn't it? That's what you're doing with these experiences. You're saying, no, that was a terrible experience. I don't want to have had it. Too bad you did. No one has ever undone what already happened. We're supposed to be so smart. No, I don't want to have had that experience. So therefore I'm going to store it inside of me. I'm speechless. Okay? This is the highest species. Some that got lost along the way, all right? We need a little more survival of the fittest. So you literally take that which you don't want to experience, which already happened, and you push it away with your act of will. Otherwise it goes through. A great master, it all goes through. It passes through. When someone asked Ramakrishna, great being, does a master, an enlightened master, ever feel anger? You know what he said? Yes, but it's like riding on water. When you ride on water, how long does it last? It just passes right through. It's a normal human emotion. Heart can emote things. Mind can think things. They come and they go. They pass right through. Well, how come your anger doesn't pass through? Because you can't handle it. How come somebody looks at you the wrong way or the right way and you can't let it go? You either don't want to have experienced it or you want to experience it more. So you either resist it, or Buddhists talk about clinging. You've heard the word clinging. You cling to it because you liked it, or you resist it because you didn't like it. In both cases, you used an act of will to make it stay inside of you. Well, what's going to happen when it stays inside of you? It's going to try and come back up. Why? Because it's not natural. Take a balloon and push it down into a bathtub. You better stay there because it's coming back up. So you're holding it down there, even from your childhood. That's what psychology is all about. You stored that stuff in there. It's having no effect on your life, right? You got rid of it. I dealt with it. I'm done with that. Well, how come we can't talk about it? Shut up. Now do you understand? So you're in there, you've done this. That stuff coming back up is what's entering your mind and what's entering your heart. So you can be just driving down the street and all of a sudden you're sad. All of a sudden you're happy. All of a sudden you're depressed. All of a sudden you're scared. All of a sudden you're crying. There's no reason. Yeah, there's a reason. Or maybe you saw a billboard. Or maybe you heard something on the radio. A song. Anybody got stuff come back up? That's our song? That's our song. That's really nice. No, we got divorced. I don't like that song. Can you drive by a restaurant that you once went on a date on and it didn't work out and feel uncomfortable because you drove by the restaurant? That's because you stored it inside of you. That's why you're moody. You got that stuff in there. The energy is trying to release. Sometimes it's able to. Sometimes it's nice energy. Sometimes it's yicky energy. You got all this stuff stored in there. Not just your childhood. You've got some basic work to do to realize that every single day of your life you're doing this. Every day somebody beeps at you. You're stopped at a stoplight and you're using your phone and you didn't go when the light turned green. Oh, come on, give me a break, buddy. I was just there for a minute. It starts talking. Wow. Man. Right? Then you're driving a little bit further down there and all of a sudden it's a 2-lane road and this guy or gal that beeped at you is now in the front lane and you're about to pull up in the front lane and you don't. Because you don't want him to see you. Can we talk honestly? Does that go on in there all day? You couldn't handle beep. It starts raining. I don't want it to rain. I don't want it to rain. Tomorrow I want to go camping. What are you doing? Beep, talk, rain, talk. Every single thing comes up. Well, but somebody next to you, it starts raining, says, oh boy, I don't have to go to school tomorrow. It's raining. That's great, I love it. And you're in there, it's like whatever's stored in there is coming back up. Please listen to me. Ever hear the expression, it hit my stuff? Ever use the expression? No, I can't hang out with her, she hits my stuff. That's what you're saying. You're so brilliant, you know all of this. You're yogis and yoginis. You're not paying attention. In other words, that admitted I have stuff. It admitted that a very simple thing from the outside world can come in and hit my stuff, and I don't like it because it comes flying up inside of me, and I get bothered for hours or days or weeks or months or the rest of my life. Right or wrong? Okay, that's what's going on in there. Now the question is, every one of you shook your head yes to every single thing I said so far. How do you know what's going on in there? Because you're in there and you see it. But it's very powerful, isn't it? It's not like I'm not in here. I'm in here. I see that I got embarrassed. I see that I didn't feel comfortable with the people. I see it. I didn't want to pull up next to the person, so they looked at me and I don't look at them. You're aware of that, but you can't do anything about it. Why? Because that feeling of embarrassment, that feeling of shame, that feeling of self-consciousness is very powerful, isn't it? So what happens, instead of being there and noticing, look at that weird thing down there, the way it beeps, she can't even handle a beep. It doesn't do that, right? It goes, no, I don't want to see him, I'm not comfortable. It starts going like this. It gets weird, gets uncomfortable. Uncomfortable, how's that for a word? Does it get uncomfortable in there? And so basically you're in there struggling. You're struggling with the fact that you stored all this stuff inside of you, and it keeps coming back up, and you try not to. And so then you go about what's called being human. What does a human do? Well, a human has a very brilliant mind. It was pretty stupid that it stored all this stuff, but it did, okay? And it knows that stuff can make it come back up. And it doesn't want it to. You don't want to feel uncomfortable. You don't want to feel scared. You don't want to feel rejected. You don't want to feel embarrassed. You don't want to feel these things, do you? But you felt them before. You know they're in there, and they're ready to come up any time. So you use your intellectual mind. There's two minds. The personal mind, that's what we've been talking so far. The personal mind, everything's personal. But there's an intellectual mind. You created air conditioning. I mean, if you invented something, you did something, you created music. You have a beautiful, beautiful impersonal mind. Intellectual, impersonal mind. It doesn't always think about you. The personal mind always thinks about you, but you can sometimes do math or do something with your mind, okay? That mind gets hijacked by the personal mind. And the personal mind says, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. It hurts saying that. And so the intellectual mind, your friend, steps in and says, okay, let's think about how things need to be so you don't get uncomfortable. Let's think about who we should call today to go with and who we shouldn't. Based on what? Based on all those past experiences. And it just thinks about not just now, but what are we going to do 10 minutes from now? What are we going to do an hour from now? What are we going to do tomorrow? What do I want to do in my life? All of it's based on, I don't want to feel uncomfortable. I want things that happened before to happen again that made me feel good, and I don't want things to happen again that made me feel bad. Think about it. Do you find yourself thinking about it, planning, plotting, deciding what you want, deciding what you don't want? Every single preference you have is based on this past stuff you stored. Why do I have preferences? I've dropped down onto a planet. Is it a nice planet? Don't tell me about the elections and this and that. Is it a nice planet compared to Mars or Jupiter or any of the other ones? They're either rocks, sand, or gas. Go, have fun. No. There's all kinds of things going on this planet. All kinds of animals, all kinds of insects, all kinds of people, all kinds of colors, all kinds of, oh my God, this is a happening place. Do we not have telescopes, the Hubble, the James Webb, that are looking thousands and millions of light years out there trying to find near Earths, and they ain't found squat? No, get that straight. I'm not saying they won't, but we've been looking out there really hard. Nobody has seen an amoeba. You don't have any trouble seeing stuff, do you? It's quite the place you landed on. So you land on this planet. Recently I've been asking people to go out to the web. There's pictures on the web of a planet transiting the sun. Not our sun. It could be our sun, but transiting a sun. And what you see is this giant ball of fire, the sun, and this tiny little black dot doing this. That is what Earth looks like transiting your sun. That's the planet. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. The sun is one of hundreds of billions of stars in your galaxy. And your galaxy is one of 2 trillion galaxies. And you're sitting on this tiny little planet doing what? Freaking out. You're sitting on the planet having developed preferences. And that's a major problem. I don't want it to be so hot today. I don't want it to rain. I don't want to see her. I don't like what she said to me yesterday. I don't want to gain a pound. I don't want to lose a pound. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to get old. I don't want to get old. You used to be this big as a baby. Now you're that big. How did that happen? By getting old. It happened by itself. It's a natural process, for God's sakes. How dare you have preferences? I like the rose if it's just this color. And if no little bug ate a bite out of the little, oh no, that's not a perfect rose. Hello. I like people who like what I like. You're the sum of your learned experiences. They're the sum of their learned experiences. Never the twain shall meet. You're the only one that went through the experiences you went through. You make me cry. Every experience you're having, nobody else is having. You're all looking at a different angle, plus you have different mental stuff that interprets it all. And every moment of your life, you're having a different experience. Who else has had those experiences? Who else has had all the experiences you've had every moment of your life? Are you kidding? Not only no one alive, no one that ever lived had the experiences you had. Because the experiences don't repeat themselves. And no one that will ever live will have the experiences you've had. Oh my God. You are unique. You're special. You're being given unique experiences that no one else ever had or ever will have. And you're sitting here complaining. But that's not the experience I want to have. Based on what? Based on the junk that you stored inside yourself. It's all based on the fact that you couldn't handle reality when it happened and let it be like riding on water. But you couldn't. Don't feel guilty. You couldn't. You didn't. And so you pushed it away. Mommy didn't pick up at school. You had to wait on the stairs for 2 hours. 5 years old. That's a traumatic experience. You'll never forgive Mommy. You'll never forgive stairs. No, don't kid yourself. You walk upstairs, you think of that. That's the problem. The solution is not to go to the intellectual mind and have it make up a life in the future that will fit all your stuff, that will make sure that it doesn't bother you. And the worst thing you do is not even that. You're making up a future that you want it to be that way. It's not going to be that way. Why? It's not supposed to be. How's it supposed to be? The way it is. Things are, what does Zen say? Flowers are red, water's blue, grass is green. What's so complicated? Things will be what they are based upon the forces that cause them to be that way. How's that for a statement of science? I'm going to repeat that one. Things will be the way that they are based upon all the forces that coalesce together in that moment to cause what's happening to happen. That includes other people's psychology, that includes the weather, that includes everything. It is not supposed to be the way you want. The way you want is what you made up based on your past experiences. I make this point all the time. I wonder if you get it. Your psyche is the sum of your learned experiences. You know that. The world unfolding in front of you is not the sum of your learned experiences. It's the sum of its learned experiences. It's rainy today because of the mountains over in Spain and El Nino and La Nina. And there are things that cause the moment in front of you to be the way it is, aren't there? If you want to know what they are, go study science. Go study psychology. Go study everything. And you're going to see that moments coalesce together and they are the result of the causes that made them be that way. How's that for a terrible statement? And guess what? The sum of the moment's learned experiences are not going to match the sum of your learned experiences. They have nothing to do with each other. Like that alone should liberate you. Well, why can't I have what I want? The moment is not supposed to be what you want. You're supposed to be able to be the highest being that can accept and learn from and grow from and serve the moment that's unfolding in front of you. It is not supposed to serve you because every one of you are different, and that's why there are wars. And that's why there's all this problems on earth. Because your sum of learned experiences, Putin's sum of learned experiences, everybody's learned experiences are different than everybody else's learned experiences. Completely different, that's all. And so now what's going to happen? If they all decide that the moment in front of them is supposed to be what they want. If I win this, I feel good. If you're married to her, but I like her, go away. I want her. I feel good if she likes me better than you. So it's all about me. It's all about me, isn't it? It's all about my ego. It's all about some of my learned experiences is what I want happening out there. Now do you understand why there's so much conflict? People say, well, why are there wars? No, why aren't there more? Everyone is different. And now they're trying to make the moment, which we're all sharing, okay? There's a place over in Jerusalem called Abraham's tomb. Ever hear of it? To a Jew, Abraham's my man. That's the tomb, man. To a Muslim, Abraham's my man. I can't believe how many of you don't know that. The Quran's about Abraham. And the Torah is about Abraham, the same Abraham. That's hilarious. Okay? The same Abraham. The stories are right there, all right? So therefore, if I'm a Muslim, that tomb belongs to me. If I'm a Jew, that tomb belongs to me. So that basically, we've all had our some of the learned experience. That's going way back. The some of the learned experiences, and we don't know how to let go. We think we're supposed to make the outside match the some of the learned experiences. If I was doing a retreat, I'd make you repeat that. We're supposed to make the outside match the sum of our learned experiences so that when it comes into me, it feels good and doesn't feel bad. Can you relate to that? All right? And I'm going to have to do it because I've been doing it lately and I know you don't like it. What about this law of attraction? Well, I want to make the outside match the sum of my learned experiences. I can use a gun. I can use good looks. I can use money. Or I can use mantras. Om Shri, I want him to like me more than her. Can you attract to yourself? Yes. Is that the highest state? To sit there and say, I'm a flaming mess because I have preferences based on what your preferences are is the places you're blocked. You listen to me. You think that getting what you want is a good thing, to know what you want and try to get what you want. A spiritual person looks at it and says, wait a minute. So there's 800 billion zillion things that could happen next, and only one will make you happy. Well, that's very silly. So that which you say you like, your preferences, have limited your happiness. Do you understand that? Why can't you sit there and say, well, let's get to the bottom line quick. What if you didn't have all that stuff stored in there? You mean I didn't have any experiences? You had experiences. They're not happening anymore. They're not happening anymore. Be here now. Now you understand the depth of that. You had the experiences. They came in. You learned from them. You grew from them. Yes, I got married. It was wonderful. Yes, I got divorced. It wasn't so wonderful. But I learned a lot. I'm much more capable of having relationships now that I learned what I did or what somebody else did or how my preferences got in the way. Or I really loved him until I realized he slurped soup and my Uncle George slurped soup and I hated my Uncle George. And so now oh my God, all of a sudden Uncle George ruined your relationship. He died 20 years ago. What are you doing? You're making a flaming mess out of your life and everybody else's because you bought into these preferences. What's the alternative? Ready? Wake up in the morning. I'm back. I wonder what's going to happen. I'm glad I'm on the planet Earth because it's a happening place. I'm going to have all kinds of experiences today. They're not all pleasant. There's all kinds of things, aren't there? What if that's your attitude with life? I get to have experiences. Which ones? The ones that I need to have so I can grow, so I can learn. Well, how do you know you need to have it? Because it bothered me. Oh, why did it bother you? Because I had past experience that I couldn't handle. You hear me? If you let go and you're empty, that's what it means to be clean. That's what it means to purify. Doesn't mean don't swear or wear white all the time, right? It means let go of all this garbage you have inside. And if you do so, you're going to find out the world doesn't bother you. Why? It's just exciting. It's just challenging. People tell you, find your passion. I don't teach you that. Find out why you're not passionate about everything. If you get rid of your stuff, you're passionate about life. You're passionate about all weather, passionate about all people, passionate about every single thing that ever happens in life. And eventually, this is what happens. And there's a difference between a human being and a true saint, a true great being. We are out there trying to make the moments that are unfolding in front of us match what makes us feel good. We are out there trying to make the moments that are unfolding in front of us be the ones that make us feel good and not be the ones that make us feel bad. In other words, we're taking, manipulating, controlling, okay? When you're done, the moment in front of you is neither good nor bad, nor right nor wrong. It's not affecting you. And what happens is, what it does is bring up compassion and love. And all of a sudden what's going on inside of you is not how do I make it be what I want, it's how do I serve it? How do I raise it? What can I do in this moment? I don't care if it's a smile. I don't care what it is. Is there something I can do so that when this moment passes by me, it's better off because it passed by me? Instead of what can I take from this moment? How can I manipulate this moment? How can I make it be what I want because I can't handle myself? Do you see the difference? That's the spiritual state. That's service. And it's a very natural state. You have to feel, I don't want to give this away. If I'm supposed to, I'll go to heaven if I give it away. No, there's nothing inside of you that needs anything. You've transcended the state of need. The only reason you have needs is because you're blocked. The only reason, not talking about food, I'm talking about your psychological needs and spiritual. The only reason you have any needs because you're blocked. What do you mean? I told you shoved all the stuff down there. So now you need things to happen that don't hit it or make it feel better. Well, what if it's not down there? You're going to find out, and that's the essence of spirituality and the essence of yoga for sure. As you let go of that stuff, you will see at some point you're happier. You're happier without that down there. Why? Because that's what's down there is happiness. What's down there is Shakti. What's down there is spirit. What's down there is just tremendous beauty and love pouring, trying to come up, but you've blocked it. And so now you only feel love when everything matches your blockages. You love people who agree with you and don't do this and they don't do that and don't remind you of Uncle George, and they either really get along with your parents or they hate your parents as much as you do. Laugh all you want. Those are the people you love, the ones that match your stuff. So if it does, they say it's right chemistry. It's not chemistry. It's just pure stuff, okay? And by the way, if they match your stuff today, it don't mean they're going to match your stuff tomorrow. Has anybody noticed? Has anybody ever said, I can't believe you did that or said that to me. I never thought you would do anything like that. Of course you didn't. He's the sum of his learning experiences. You're the sum of your learning experiences. The sum of your learning experiences would never have done that. Some of his learning experiences, they didn't even think about it. But that's not okay with you. So you feel love when you're open, when things match so that you're not afraid, so you feel trust. Oh, I like that word, trust. Can I trust you? Well, I don't ask that until you know what you're talking about. Can I trust you? Can I really trust you? If I give my heart to you, can I trust you? What are you really saying? Can I trust that you'll be what I want you to be? The person should say, of course you can trust me. You can trust that I'll be who I am. Because that's who they're going to be. When it's all said and done, that stuff's coming up. No matter what you think, no matter how much they love you, no matter how much commitment and sign the marriage license and do all those kind of things, when it's all said and done, what's down there is coming up. That's very powerful stuff. So notice what I just said about trust. Isn't that what you mean by trust? Can I trust that you will be what I need you to be? Watch this one. Can I trust that you'll never hurt me? Well, you can trust that I'll never purposely hurt you. But how do I know it will hurt you? You've been in there the whole time. I just met you 3 weeks ago. Now do you understand why relationships are interesting? And so eventually you just get to the point where you realize it's all about letting go of that stuff. That's what spirituality is about. It's not about getting what you want. It's not about avoiding what you don't want. It's not about plotting and planning and attracting and doing all kinds of things. People say, but is there a law of attraction? Yes, you should be scared to death of it because you're going to attract whatever you're thinking, okay? That's not the point. The point is, it's not about getting what you want. You don't even know what you want. You have to think about it. You argue within yourself what you want. Do I want to go here? Do I want to go there? Get neurotic trying to figure out what you want because you have all these different blockages inside. Who says they line up? Who says they agree with each other? You know darn well they don't. That's why you're having so much trouble. Because you think what's supposed to happen is supposed to match your stuff, and you can't even match your stuff. Why do you put them here on a piece of clothing? Go in there. If it's winter, buy a heavy one. If it's summer, buy a light one. No, we need a 16-sided mirror. Then we get inside and we turn around 15 times. Then we ask everybody, you're not buying clothes. You're buying something that matches your stuff. You put it on. Whoa, I really like this. Somebody says, you look fat. Oh, I don't like it at all. It's not easy living in there, is it? Because you stored all this garbage. And now you got to try and make life match it. And that's the only time you can feel love, the only time you can feel passion, the only time you feel anything, is if your blockages are open enough to where this energy that's down there all the time, the most love you ever felt is only because that's the most open you were. Why were you open? Because the blockages weren't blocking you. 10,000 times more love is in there than you've ever experienced. Free of charge, unconditional, flowing all the time. That's what the great ones are. Why? Because you don't have that stuff in there. And that's what it means to grow spiritually. And what happens is, as you let that stuff go, you start to see the Shakti come up. And then it starts to get stronger and stronger and stronger coming up until eventually, as you mature, you start saying, wow, this is what I wanted anyways. I didn't really care what happened outside. I only care what it did inside of me. Ramdas once said, you get to the point where nothing that comes in from outside is higher than what's already going on inside. That's where I want you. And then what happens is when you start catching on, then you're ready for the next phase of growth. Now you're ready to deal with your big stuff. How? It starts to come up, you see yourself tending to push it down, and you say, no, I don't think so. You witness consciousness. I don't think so. I like this Shakti. I like this energy. You mean there's more? If there's a tendency to a blockage, that means there's more down there. And you start becoming a letting go machine. And then you start becoming even more mature. You start realizing what you should have realized a long time ago. Life is a washing machine. And its intention is not for you to get what you want, it's to get rid of that stuff inside of you. And it knows exactly how to do it, doesn't it? The trouble is you don't want it to do it. So you resist it. And that's why life seems like it's terrible. That's why you have trouble with it. That's why you're scared of it. Eventually you get to the point where you say, bring it on. You want a piece of me? Glad to give it up. And you start learning what letting go means. You start learning what surrendering means. Surrender does not mean you do everything that ends in front of you. If a drug addict comes to you and says, here, take some drugs, you don't do them. That's not surrender. Surrender means if the stuff is coming up inside, I'm letting it go. Now I'll deal from a higher place outside. People totally misunderstand what I mean by surrender. Surrender is an inner state of letting go of your blockages. I'm willing to let go. Now that I'm clearer, I'm not reacting, how do I interact outside from a higher place? So this is spiritual growth. This is real spiritual growth. Let go, I dare you. And you're going to find this energy. And then ultimately, let's close down. Where do the great ones go? We haven't even gotten high yet. We haven't even gotten high yet. All you did was stop being low. All right? And really, you stopped having junk inside of you that's causing your mind to drive you crazy and causing your heart to drive you crazy. Then what happens? There's this nice energy coming up, feeding your heart. What did Christ say? Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that leaveth the mouth of God. What does that mean? You don't get your high just off the outside. There's energy flowing inside that feeds you. You start being fed by that inside. Then what happens? Final states. It's not that it's just nice in there, so you don't have to deal with junk, but it starts pulling you up at a level that's almost uncomfortable. It's basically trying to pull your consciousness away from its addiction to your humanness, to your mind, and to your emotions. They're not a problem now, but now it's being pulled up to where you realize I have to let them go altogether. Let's die to be reborn. Is that what Christ meant? That you literally let go of your individuality, of your sense of I'm. That's nice now down there, but it's still something I'm looking at. It's not me. And it pulls you back into the source of consciousness. We've all talked about consciousness leaving its source to stare and get distracted and identify with what's below it. At some point, it pulls up enough. It's a natural thing. As you let go, it pulls you up. And then all the masters talk about that point of letting go of the false sense of self. And everyone of every tradition said when they did that, the same thing happened. My consciousness was a drop of water staring at me. That drop, when I stopped staring down, fell into an ocean, into the ocean of consciousness, into God. My father and I are one. They all taught the same thing. Buddha's nirvana, I can't talk about it, right? You are a very great being. Like people talking about, I need to find my way back to God. No, you need to stop leaving. Your consciousness is already there. That is the source of your consciousness. But it's staring at the garbage and identifying with it. So I said in the beginning, all spirituality, the whole path, the beginning is very simple. You are not your mind. You are not your emotions. You are not your body. Period. You are the consciousness that's aware of those things. That's where we just ended up, isn't it? But we talked about why you're staring at it and how to not. Spirituality is about letting go of those blockages. The rest will happen by itself. You're a very great being. You're a very great being. These pictures on the wall, they're just representing beings who let go. Okay, I'm looking you in the eyes. You have some work to do, don't you? Jai Gurudev.